Welcome to PPR podcast number 56. My name is Paul. Everybody knows Bert, and Bert, everybody knows our guest.
Yes, they do. Coach Jason Brown from Netflix, Last Chance U. And
correct me if I'm wrong, that was seasons 3 and 4 that you were at the center stage?
Yep, I think so. I still haven't watched it.
You have never watched it?
No, man, I haven't watched it. I watched a clip, believe it or not, last night. Somebody sent me a clip that I had to kind of watch for another person, and I was like, okay, so I watched it and little video recorded it. But now I haven't watched it from front to back yet. I've watched clips.
Let me ask you a question now. You were a college quarterback, pro, high school, with Jimmy G and Tom Brady. Did you not watch it because you didn't feel like you were handsome enough to represent the quarterbacks at that time?
Man, just wait, man. I was like, shoot, these guys are outdoing me in both places, field and off the field.
Well, let me tell you what I saw, because first of all, you launched that whole thing into the stratosphere, so congratulations there. But man, I don't know. Would you say if I said, hey, you're a throwback to a different era, would you agree with that, and two, would you be insulted by that?
No, I think we're all who we are, not what we say we are. That's the problem, I think, in society today. I think people apologize because of something they say, but when we really look back, we're like, why are you apologizing? That is who you are. And people want to go back and look and forgive them. I'm like, why are you forgiving them? They've done it over and over and over and over. So by saying that, this is who I am. And I don't know if it matters what era it would have been in, or what era I'm from, or what have you. But I'm from my generation, was raised by a dad and a grandfather and a mother who just didn't take any BS and wouldn't allow it. And they coached me on everything, and they didn't allow me to do anything that was going to steer me in the wrong direction.
Because Jason, for those who have never seen the show, basically you were in Egypt, Kansas. You were at Independence College, a community college. It's about JUCO. It's the name represents what it is. It's the last chance for these athletes to use the sport to maybe save their lives or to improve their lives. The concept is brilliant. You have to be described as an in-your-face coach. I mean, there was not a lot of nuance there. You got loud, and some people love it, other people did not. So can you talk a little bit about reaction to it?
If you film Nick Saban for 3,900 hours, you would all be in, your jaws would all drop too. And that's what, and Bert understands this, and I had Brian Urlacher on my show yesterday, and I've had all these different people, and it's like, I've been told by these big name coaches, like, Coach, we thank you so much because we can't do what you do with our platform because we'd be canceled. And that's just, it is what it is. I mean, this is what people don't realize, though, when they judge me and they give me this, they assume they know what's going on and presume and all these different things. Find a player that I've coached who's come out and said something bad about me. And I'll wait for it. I've sent 255 Division I, 28 in the NFL. I just had my 10th first-round draft pick this year, Jermaine Johnson with the Jets. Find me a kid that said something bad about me before you talk. And that's the problem. People don't understand. They put their foot in their mouth too fast because they don't really look at the big picture. You saw 16 hours of me. They filmed me for 3,900 hours. And if you don't think they massage the cuts and the edits, you're not very smart because, controversy sells. And it was the highest ranked show on Netflix for my 2 seasons, the most binge watched show of all time in history of television. So, people can make assumptions all they want, but they don't know the truth. And people should stay in their lane when they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
And that's the interesting thing you bring up because, we're about the same age. I think you're a little younger than me. But I remember when I got done, and this is a high school football coach or show when we cover high school, but when I got done, we grew up with Mike Ditka, Bum Phillips, Buddy Ryan, all the same kind of coaches. My Pop Warner coaches would put cigarettes out in our helmets if we did something wrong. And then you go to the pros where nobody, massaged you at all at the time. And then I had to go coach high school football. And I remember my first year being similar to you, because that's the way we learned, and that's the way it was. And it just didn't go over well, and it had to be an adjustment. So I guess my question is, we all grew up that way, and that's the way we are, like you said. But After knowing all that, would you still do the Netflix series again if you could do it over?
Yeah, because this is why 101 guys in 3 years went Division I, 45 Power 5. It'll never be matched again. No one's ever sent that amount of players Division I in 3 year span. Nobody's been kicked out or left the institution after leaving me or thrown in jail. We had one player had a little issue at Tennessee. I love the kid to death. That's the first player ever under my watch to have any issues when leaving me out of 256 kids. So saying to do it again, it's just like it's kind of a double-edged sword. You know, I would do it again because that is what I've done my whole life, helping kids and coaches for that matter. 13 coaches got Division I jobs from those 3 seasons as well. So I would never change that because I'm all about, it's not about me. It's about us, as you know, in this profession. And when you take on that job, you have these big shoulders and a burden to carry. And it's like, well, I accepted this thing and I'm not going to look in the rearview mirror because it'll deter me from looking forward. And that's what it does. I'm not going that way. So why would I look back in the mirror? I did it. I accepted it and I've never apologized for it. And I won't. This is who I am. And that's what people don't get. I am who I am. We are who we are, not what we say we are. And there was no reason for me to apologize. Why would I apologize? It's because I sent 101 mostly inner city black kids to Division I programs that I had the highest graduation rate of any junior college football playing school in the history of junior college, that nobody went to jail or got arrested, that 99% of my kids graduate with their degrees. I'm going to apologize for that because some idiot came out with some fake news and wanted to blast it out because they didn't like me. No, I'm not. And I'm not going to regret it. But I'm not saying I'm not contrite and I wouldn't change and going forward. That's ignorance. And I think ignorance is life threatening. I'm not saying that I wouldn't change, but I wouldn't change the fact that these people came to me. And Bert, let me just be honest. I turned them down. I did not want to do this thing because I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't watch Netflix. I didn't watch the first one in Mississippi. I knew nothing. My whole staff knew about it. And obviously the show was big already. And I'm like, so when I talked to some mentors of mine, I said, you know what? If it's going to help some kids or young coaches and young kids get a platform that's going to help them move on, why not? And at the end of the day, retrospectively speaking, it bit me in the butt because the depiction of how they depicted me, it is what it is, though. I mean, I can't change that. And, I knew the microphone was going to cost me, not the camera.
Back in the day, it seems to me, as it relates to sports, maybe in life in general, the ends justified the means. If you had that kind of track record, the kind of track record Jason just shared with it.
Yeah, let me jump on that because I read an amazing stat. I mean, Hugh had on this team, and this is Independence, Kansas, where there's nothing. 27 D1 transfers, 15 Power 5 transfers. I mean, just to get one to come there to Independence, you have to be doing something right. It can't be that bad. I mean, there's nothing bad about it or they wouldn't come.
I'm glad you said that. I mean, that's what people don't realize. You know what I mean? I mean, people don't understand. You're not coming to Independence, Kansas because of Independence, Kansas. You're coming.
I've been there, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming because of me, and then and the direction that I got this place going, and you're believing in something that I'm selling you because my track record precedes itself, and that's what I don't understand. Alluding to that point, like people don't realize. I've done this 21 years. I've won nothing but coaches of the years, championships, sending 250 kids to Division I. But now all of a sudden a Netflix show came out and now I'm nothing. I can't get a job. Perception is reality, brother.
Yeah, well, and everything. So allow me to finish my question before I was so rudely interrupted by my esteemed colleague. Back in my day, if you won, people looked the other way as long as you achieved the desired goal, the means wasn't as important. But in 2022, as I go around from high school campus to high school campus, now the result seems to take a backseat to the method. And I'm just curious, one is, am I accurate in describing that? And is that good for the development of young people?
No, it's not. It's horrible. There's a coaching adage Bergen can attest. You coach it or you allow it, period. And you coach life or you allow life to happen, period. Like you either finish through the line or you start before the line or you allowed it to happen. So do you coach it and change it or do you allow it? And parents are allowing kids to be reckless, disrespectful, rude, lazy, enabled at an all-time rate. And coaches at the high school level, more or less, are also allowing the same thing. And it's unfortunate because the coaches now are in a bad situation. And I love high school football coaches. I think they do a hell of a job. The problem is we have to come to agreement at some point. That's why I go around speaking to different high schools all over the country. We have to come to agreement that you're going to kiss their butt and beg them so they don't transfer to their fourth high school in 4 years. But you don't understand. You've lost your integrity when the kid still leaves you at the end of the day and still transfers. And now you have what? You've lost your locker room integrity because you allow that kid that you don't want to transfer to miss class, to be late to practice, to not sit in the front row, to do these things. And now you've lost your integrity. You've lost your buy-in from your team. And you still lost the kid you tried so hard to please. And people don't realize, these coaches don't understand, man. You coach it or allow it. That's what it is. And these kids actually want it. They demand it. They need discipline. And we are scared to give it because kids want to transfer. Kids want to be – we've given kids the car keys to the Ferrari before they ever have learned how to drive. And it's happened in the home front, and it happens at the high school level, and we already know it happens at the youth level. So I told Brian Urlacher yesterday, not to cut you off, it's the first time I've ever seen the transcending. I've seen it. We're going uphill from the bottom to the top instead of being at the top, and the bottom folks looking at the NFL and saying, all right, T.O. did a dumb thing. The high school kid does what he did. He mimicked him. No, the NFL guys now are mimicking the high school transfer portal, which has created the college transfer portal, and now you got NFL guys who 4-year contracts, and they're trying to demand trades, which is the transfer portal.
Oh, that's so spot on. That is so spot on.
That is. Take your coffee. So I don't think a lot of people know this. You grew up in Compton. What's the difference between where you played originally in JUCO was Compton City, right?
Compton College, yep.
What's the difference between Compton City and Independence, Kansas?
We had people, humans, food.
Food.
We had life, freeways. It's just obviously we know demographics are different. The era that I grew up being born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, Compton was probably the worst city in America. It was the worst city in America as far as gang violence and drugs and so forth. So having been the only guy of my skin tone, white guy being raised there, it taught me a lot of things. And I took those things and being raised by predominantly black women, I was like, okay, this is how I know how to get through to certain individuals. And that's what I yearned to do. I wanted to do it. I wanted to help kids that needed a butt ripping, but at the same time, a pat on the back and a hamburger after practice. So they knew that I still loved on them. But at the same time, I'm going to tell them the difference between right and wrong. And you do not have to follow everybody that makes a left at the stop sign. You can make a right and be your own human. And it doesn't matter where you're from. And that's the difference. I think, Compton obviously borders Long Beach and Carson and big major metropolitan LA, but you're in a rural area, but you still bring those same kids to that town. So inside that institution where we were at Independence, there was absolutely zero difference as far as the players, the kids, the climate, the environment. We just had dorms and meal plans where Compton, we didn't. We lived at home. It was mostly local kids. JUCO's JUCO, and I think I'm as JUCO as JUCO gets. And I love helping those type of kids. And that's why I think JUCO is the most rewarding level to coach at, period. I know. You have to get so many different dynamics for kids from so many different walks on the same page at the same time, going the same direction, or you're never going to either get those kids graduated into a 4-year or you're never going to win a game. So that's just what it is.
Yeah, and I was talking to Scott Catlin, who's a coach here, and he was coaching JUCO, and he was telling me it's just a different world. I mean, you have to worry about where they're going to sleep. their crazy girlfriend, where the next meal is. I mean, all these things you don't get in high school, and you don't get in the pros, obviously. It's just that one level, and you don't get Division I. It's just you have so many other things. You're a mentor, you're a parent, you're a psychologist, you're everything at that level.
No doubt. You're everything. And you're not a coach, man. I told that, I think I said it on Netflix. We're psychologists. We're not coaches. Like, that's what it is. Like, you're street psychologists. You learn it through, like I say to people all the time, I tell these kids, I preach the heck out of it, get your degree and do all those things. But at the end of the day, I didn't learn anything from earning that degree to help kids get to where they could not get themselves, which is the definition of coaching, by the way. Get you where you could not get yourself. Nothing in that classroom helped me do that. I prepared that my whole life. I was prepared to do that with how I was raised, where I was raised. So I knew how to get kids and push the right buttons to get kids to make a right at the stop sign, be a leader, not a follower like everybody else, which we have a huge problem with right now. And I don't think coaches and parents are not teaching these young kids what a leader is. A leader creates more leaders, not more followers. And that's the problem. And I don't think we accept more things than we coach and change. And that is why you're seeing what we're seeing. And it's unfortunate, and it's imploding in front of our very eyes, to be honest.
Can I ask one X and O question?
Sure.
What kind of coach? What's your? I assume, it just dawned on me. You're living the life of Gene Hackman in Hoosiers, where you had the incident, and now you're waiting to find a place to get back into the game. You're
right.
Hollywood, it's life imitating art. But getting back, what Gene Hackman wanted to pass the ball 4 times. Do you ever watch Hoosiers?
Yeah, the picket fence.
What kind of?
You're more shooter. You're not really.
I'm a little blonde kid. Sure.
No, Shooter's the drunk dad.
Yeah.
Right.
Jason, what? I assume that you're still, when you go to a bar at night, every coach I know has a napkin out and drawing X's and O's, trying to stay current. What are you? What kind of coach are you? What philosophy do you? If you had any kind of talent, you could run an offense. What offense would you run?
I've been an innovative guy my whole career coaching. I've led the state of California like 6 times in total offense. We led the Jayhawking conference out there. So I've always been innovative, but I've been a spread guy but using multiple things. But we all steal from each other. That's what football is. It's a thieves game. It's, people will talk about the West Coast offense. Well, West Coast offense was actually 21 personnel, tight end, I formation, and Bill Walsh ran that with 2 wide receivers. And people thought West Coast meant spread, 4 wide, throw it all over the place. No, that was what the run and shoot was called. And then Dan Coryell and all these different guys, So I'm a multiple spread offense, a little tempo, and a lot of single back. But that's what I am. And man, I don't write on napkins no more, man. You know why? Because I have no fire or desire to coach anymore because of how the kids are allowed to be how they are. And that's why I'm like, well, what doesn't matter about X's and O's? It's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And unless the Jimmies and the Joes are willing to have self-motivation, you're never going to motivate a kid to go to class or be great unless he wants to be. So I think our coaches and parents need to figure that out and change in that regard and start demanding excellence again, like we all had to go through.
I want to ask you about, because it's funny, because I think you're the best ambassador for junior college football ever, and a lot of kids have a stigma around junior college. But when you start to see somebody like you and you say, well, I have over 100 D1 players and I have 10 first rounders, they're all JUCO kids, and kids don't realize that. It's not, it's a great platform, but there's some stigma around it. If I don't go to Alabama this year, I'm done.
Is that changing?
No, it's not changing. It's 20. I think it was at one point around 20% NFL's JUCO kids, and people don't realize. I mean, you have to mention guys to where, and especially now, these kids, they go like this. These high school kids walk around when you go to high school and say, just walk around with some pictures and say, this guy is? And it's Aaron Rodgers. And they're going to be like, yeah, it's Aaron Rodgers. You know where he went? Cal. No, he went to Butte Junior College. Like, this guy? Cam Newton. Yeah, Cam Newton. You know where he went? Yeah, he went to Auburn. No, he didn't. He went to Blinn Junior College. Chad Johnson and Steve Smith? Do you know? So I can go on and on. How about John Madden, the name of the game? He's a junior college guy. So, like people don't know the history, and that's the problem. Jackie Robinson, junior college guy. Like, I can break down. My dad grew up in Compton, man, back in the day, and he was best friends with who basically created what the NFL is today, a guy named Pete Rozelle. They were neighbors in Compton. Pete Rozelle went to Compton High School and Compton College with my dad. And a JUCO guy is what the NFL is right now, but nobody wants to break down the history and go into it. I did it in my book, Hate Me Now, Love Me Later, and that's what I broke down. Being from Compton, there's so many great people there that actually are so influential, but these young cats aren't taught that no more, and you literally have to show them. And so JUCO has a bad depiction because it's JUCO, and you say JUCO, and I used to avoid saying JUCO. JUCO is like
right.
The jailhouse word you use for junior college or community college. You know what I mean? So it's just unfortunate, man, but it's all about perception, and people are ignorant, and ignorance is life-threatening.
But here, I mean,
just one second, Jason, just so you have an alert to at the top of the hour, we have to do a live news break. So we're going to have to, if we end this abruptly, my apologies. But go ahead, ask your question. We got about 5 minutes left.
Because it's back to the JUCO thing. You can say 10 first rounders, but kids will say, I want to go to UCLA. Chip Kelly hasn't had 10 first rounders in a career, let alone in the last 6 or 8 years. But people, they just don't get that.
Bert, I had 8 in the Super Bowl a few years ago, 4 on the Patriots and 4 on the Seahawks.
JUCO.
The two head coaches in that game didn't have as many as I had in the game.
JUCO.
Mm-hmm. All right. Think about it.
So while you wait, if that phone were to ring after this, and a San Diego school, be it a JUCO or high school, said, "Hey, Jason, we want you to come," you would not take that up? I mean, I know you got your other business things going. Will you ever blow a whistle again?
I don't know, man. It's a good question. I have. This is the one thing that eats at me. My last season as a coach, we went 2-8. Not because we had bad talent, and Bert will tell you coach long enough, you play long enough, you're going to have one of those years. That's probably my worst season as a head coach, obviously. But at the same time, it was a bad nucleus. Everybody wanted to be on camera. Not only my teachers on campus, but administrators and boosters. And everybody thought this was the biggest thing ever. Independence, Kansas, they got Netflix. I mean, okay. So football was a backstory. Nobody cared about playing that year. And we still had 40 Division I kids go D1 that year. And we went 2-8. And you know how I know, and Bert will tell you, we lost every game by 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 1 point, overtime. And when that happens, there's one of two things. You don't deserve to win, which is ultimately the end result, which I told those kids. You don't deserve to win because you don't win 6 days out the week. And usually when we've had success under my tutelage, we've won 6 days out the week, meaning in the community, in the weight room, in the classroom, everything was lining up. You don't deserve to win game 7, day 7. And day 7's game day. And if you do everything throughout the week right, you usually win on game day. And the year before, we won it all. And we basically had a more talented team the next year. So that eats at me, to answer your question, because my legacy's left at 2-8. Now, that's one thing. The other thing is I think there's a lot of kids right now being led the wrong way, being led in bad directions. And I think I could be helping a ton of kids, obviously. Not only kids, I could be helping a lot of parents understand, don't choose this school because of the colors of the uniform. You idiot. Wake up and go turn over some rocks and figure out this is a long-term solution to a business plan that you're creating. Be the CEO of yourself. These cats don't get it. And you wonder why we're transferring at an all-time rate, because they just won't do the research. And because coaches don't care. They just want to win games and play pretty and look pretty and play 7-on-7 and they're not really teaching the kid. And the kid is a piece of meat in the meat market.
Hey, Jason, last question, because we're going to have to wrap this up. Whatever happened to the cow that got loose on the practice field that they had to tranquilize?
It's in my damn freezer right now. I don't know, man. I've seen that clip a few times, and I was crazy because I don't remember it. But when I saw it in the clip, I'm like, damn, I remember that like yesterday. And then I see it on Netflix, and it's one of the biggest shown clips of all time. They say most downloaded GIFs or whatever they call it on the internet. And I'm like, I thought they were killing the thing. I'm like, man, I don't want my kids to see this thing get blown apart on my field. and it was a tranquilizer or whatever. So I was like, man, where the hell am I at?
Jason, I hope you'll let us do this again, because I only got through half my questions, and we didn't even get to some of the meat on the bone. Please, when we call you back in a couple months, that you'll do it again. No doubt, definitely, anytime. Jason Brown, everybody. This podcast is now over. Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, JB.
All right, bro. Appreciate you.